Hello, everybody, and welcome to Final Take. I'm Michael Scott, and I have a great show lined up for you guys today. Today, we're going to talk a little bit about Zion versus LeBron Part 2. Last night on ESPN, the King embraced the rookie after the Lakers' road win. I'm going to come at you with all the details from the action. We're going to break down the game. We're going to talk about some of the interviews, and we're going to dive into some of the analysis. So sit back, relax. Let's go, baby.
You're listening to Final Take with Michael Scott, presented by the 5 O'Clock Shadow. Make sure to follow the podcast on platforms like Spotify, Google Podcasts, and Radio Public. Also, follow Michael on Facebook and Twitter at Michael 5 O'Clock for analysis, breaking news, highlights, and much more. As always, thanks for listening. Now sit back, relax, and enjoy the podcast.
Hello, everybody. It is currently almost 2 a.m. Eastern Time. I'm going to do my best before I go to bed to bring you everything you need to know about Part 2 of Zion Williamson versus LeBron James. After the Los Angeles Lakers' 122-114 win at the New Orleans Pelicans during a media session, LeBron James told reporters to tell anyone throwing shade at him for his friendly demeanor towards opposing superstars that they can kiss my ass. And that's a quote from the King. James went up to Williamson following the game at Smoothie King Center in Louisiana and embraced the rookie, which was only seconds before he whispered into the rookie phenom's ear while surrounded by a bevy of cameras. As always, the veteran James covered his mouth with a towel during the exchange. When asked about the moment by reporters after the game, LeBron said, and I quote, "It's my obligation. It's my job to continue to pass on the game to the guys that's coming in after me. That's just my responsibility." He also added, "No one told me to do that. I just feel like it's my responsibility to leave the game in a better place than when I had it." So that brings me to the question: how does LeBron's friendliness with others impact his legacy? Does the idea of him being buddy-buddy with other stars diminish his greatness as a competitor? When I sit back to take a second to think about the answer to that question, my answer is no. And I'm going to tell you why. The answer is no, because what happens before tip-off and after the game clock expires doesn't negate the impact he has had on a nightly basis for 17 years. Comparing him to Michael Jordan or Kobe Bryant in this sense, LeBron has been suggested as lacking that so-called killer instinct or that Mamba mentality like the others. At this point, it's easy to understand, we've all seen it, that LeBron marches to the beat of his own drum. And after 17 years, it's clear he's not going to change for anybody, regardless of what the critics have to say. The idea of him being buddy-buddy with other stars used to center around his desire to compete alongside the best to measure up against Jordan and Kobe's ring count. Now, it seems that because he's in his final stages of what's been an illustrious career, those relationships are being forged with the idea that LeBron intends to continue Bryant's legacy as an ambassador of the game for future generations to come. That's a torch he's chosen to pick up on his own. Like he said, he hasn't been told to do that by anybody. And what you're seeing is a very mature, grown up, and very comfortable LeBron James. James picked up his 34th career 30-point triple-double by putting up a stat line of 34 points, 13 assists, and 12 rebounds. He trails only Oscar Robertson and Russell Westbrook for the most all time. He scored or assisted on 68 of the team's 99 points when he was on the floor. He's a catalyst. The 17-year veteran was an offensive force both inside and outside during the game. Some of his highlights included him landing a few long three-point shots and monster dunks down low in the second half of the game. This season, the Lakers are 19-0 when James scores 30 points in a game. It was his 13th triple-double this season, which is tied for the most in the NBA. Now, Zion's physical strength was on full display in this loss. The rookie scored 35 points and shot 12 of 16 from the field while grabbing 7 rebounds. According to Spectrum, Williamson is the third most efficient post scorer in the NBA this season, and that's with a minimum of 60 attempts. He's also displayed a dominance on the offensive glass throughout that entire time span. The former Duke star has the most 20-point games in the restricted area for a rookie since Blake Griffin in 2011. Zion has 6 at this point, with a ton of games remaining. Blake Griffin for the entire 2011 had 7. So if you're trying to compare apples and oranges, you can obviously see the difference in Williamson's game or physical impact compared to another specimen at the time in Blake Griffin. Even Lakers center Dwight Howard, who stands 6'10", 265 pounds, was unable to outmatch Williamson during a head-to-head matchup down low in the paint late in the game, where the rookie appeared to out-physical the veteran with ease en route to a basket and won. Dwight Howard is a monster. He didn't even stand a chance. Williamson later shared his thoughts with reporters on what it feels like to be praised by a player like LeBron James and said, and I quote, it means something because, he's been doing this for 17 years and his resume speaks for itself. Thinking about Zion Williamson's current impact on the NBA and his role in the game, it really brings me to the question, or the thought rather, that this is something we haven't seen in quite a long time. Not since Shaquille O'Neal have we seen physical dominance inside the paint like this. As Williamson's game evolves and his minutes increase, what type of impact can we expect Zion to have on the NBA? Already, he's a full-fledged superstar in just over a month. Zion is a human highlight reel, and his upside is scary. It is scary. In a wide-open and progressive NBA, it may be possible that he takes up James' torch and becomes the greatest player in this next generation of upcoming superstars. It's very possible because thus far, with a small sample size, ladies and gentlemen, the numbers do not lie. If Zion's able to implement a consistent perimeter scoring aspect to his game, we may potentially witness a player with a skill set unseen ever before. Think LeBron James on steroids. Zion's athleticism is off the charts. When he further develops his skill set, watch out. We're going to take a break here. When we come back, we're going to talk about some more analysis and breakdown from the game. You're listening to Final Take. I'm Michael Scott. We'll be right back.
You're listening to Final Take with Michael Scott, presented by the 5 O'Clock Shadow. Make sure to follow the podcast on platforms like Spotify, Google Podcasts, and Radio Public. Also, follow Michael on Twitter and Facebook at Michael 5 O'Clock for analysis, breaking news, highlights, and much more. As always, thanks for listening.
Welcome back to Final Take. I'm Michael Scott, and we are talking part 2 of the Zion versus LeBron matchup. Last night, the Lakers beat the Pelicans at Smoothie Center in what was a fantastic game to watch. I don't know if you guys watched the coverage on ESPN, but it was incredible. Now, during that coverage, Doris Burke, an ESPN NBA analyst since 1991, mentioned that reigning league MVP and Milwaukee Bucks forward Giannis Antetokounmpo is the only player that has been able to absorb the body blow on the block by Williamson and then push back. When we talk about Zion, that's a strong young man. Very strong. Providing analysis after the game, Burke offered her take on the game between the former top picks during a breakdown on SportsCenter with Scott Van Pelt by saying, "Even in year 17, Scott, we continue to take LeBron James for granted." And that got me thinking. And it makes me want to ask you guys, do you think we are taking LeBron James for granted? Because I do. The media built him into a phenom ever since he was on that cover of Sports Illustrated as a 16-year-old. And then we cast him in the mold of a villain when he went to Miami and teamed up with the Heatles, Dwayne Wade, Chris Bosh. Together they won 2 NBA championships. Then he returned to Cleveland. Again, LeBron's a hero. And then he's a villain with Kyrie Irving and his departure. Now, as a Laker, he's expected to be a hero again. It's been a roller coaster throughout his entire career. And really, it's been so up and down in the way that we view him. We haven't really been able to sit back and appreciate the greatness that's in front of us. Because when you sit back and take a second to appreciate his career, you realize we've watched a kid grow up in front of our eyes and transition into a man approaching middle age. What you then realize is that you've had the benefit of watching one of the greatest players of all time. Appreciating a game that was once physically driven like Williamson's has now evolved into a game of skill, shooting, and finesse. A game of playmaking. In my opinion, we are really witnessing beauty despite James' diminishing physical impact on the game. Watching him play last night and take over down the stretch was a beautiful thing. Don't get me wrong. Despite his diminishing physical impact on the game, he's still a specimen at 37 years old. So the Lakers played without star big man Anthony Davis, who did not play because of a sore right knee. He was resting after playing the entire game Saturday night during a 105-88 loss at the Memphis Grizzlies against Rookie of the Year candidate Ja Morant. Davis appeared to be okay as he regularly got up during the game against the Pelicans from his seat on the bench with ease. He watched the game in street clothes. And really, I know the Pelicans are the 9th-ranked team with a losing record in the West, but the Lakers didn't really appear to need Davis during the game. In fact, all season, they haven't really missed a beat without him. The Lakers are 6-2 in contests played without Davis over the course of the year. During those games, LeBron James has averaged 27.6 points per game, stepping up, essentially, when needed most. Last night, he got a little bit of help, little bit of support from Kyle Kuzma, who chipped in 20 points as LeBron's main supporter for the Lakers in Davis' absence. Defensively, he was also outmatched by the strength of Zion all night long. If you watched the game, you almost felt bad for Kyle Kuzma. He looked terrible because Zion was putting in work. He was making Kyle Kuzma look extremely soft and extremely weak. He had no answer for the rookie phenom. The entire Lakers squad put forth a well-balanced effort. The team shot 51.5% from the field, while also making 37.1% of their shots from beyond the arc. Every player that entered the game for the Lakers added at least 5 points. Which brings me to the question. As one of the oldest teams in the league, will the Lakers hold up down the stretch and throughout the playoffs? It's a mystery, really. Often James morphs into playing hero ball in the postseason, which can really take its toll by the time you get to the finals. Only this time, if he's able to get to the finals, because let's face it, the Clippers have the Lakers' number this season, and their depth is incredible. But let's say this, only this time, if he makes it to the finals, James will be able to trade off with Anthony Davis. Last time he had that type of compliment, both James and Kyrie Irving won a championship against an extremely tough Golden State Warriors squad that was busy forging a dynasty. Lonzo Ball nearly missed a triple-double in his supporting performance. In the loss, the former Laker finished with 19 points, 9 rebounds, and 9 assists. He also added 3 steals during the contest. Despite struggling from three-point range, the former 2017 NBA Draft's number 2 overall pick shot 46% from the field. Ball has put up some of his best shooting performances during his 2 games against the Lakers this season. He's averaged 16.5 points per game on 51.9% shooting. The California native has been the primary running mate for Zion this season, and as running mates, they're attempting to help the Pelicans run the table and land a berth as an 8th seed in the upcoming NBA playoffs. I don't know about you guys, but that would be an incredible matchup if the Pelicans were able to enter a 7-game series with the Lakers. Do I think the Pelicans have a chance at beating the Lakers in that series? Hell no. But it would be intriguing, and it would be interesting to watch Zion and LeBron going back and forth, essentially, for 7 games. Lonzo Ball, it's nice to see him doing well because of the fact he had so much trouble with the Lakers. Maybe there was too much pressure. This is a kid who was built up by his father, the outspoken and controversial LeVar Ball, before he ever got to the NBA. His dad was out there telling people how great he was going to be, how he was going to bring the Lakers back, how they were going to win NBA championships, and blah, 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 blah. And Lonzo was on already one of the biggest basketball stages in the country. Besides New York, it doesn't get any bigger than the Staples Center in LA. The city of stars. And in those bright shining lights, Lonzo essentially crumbled. He didn't play well. His shooting was skeptical. He dealt with a number of injury concerns. Now this year, it seems like he's really finally healthy. And at times, he's really hit his stride. And it seems like his game is perfect to be paired with somebody like Zion Williamson. Add in Brandon Ingram, who also came over to the Pelicans in the trade with the Lakers. You have a guy who's having a career year. And this Pelicans team really, for the future, has a ton of upside. They got J.J. Redick, who's injured at the moment. He's going to be out for 2 weeks. He would have definitely added another element to what is now Zion versus LeBron Part 2. So it'll be interesting to see where exactly this whole budding rivalry, and I say that with a grain of salt because the Pelicans need to be more competitive before it can be a true rivalry. But it'll be interesting to see where this saga goes. The Lakers improved to 46-13 with the victory, which is good for first in the West. And the Pelicans fell to 26-34. They remain at ninth in the West on the outside looking in towards the NBA playoff race. On the season, the Lakers managed to sweep all 4 games against the Pelicans. For those of you that have been listening, make sure to visit my blog on the web at the5o'clockshadow.com. That's the number 5 o'clockshadow.com for the entire written recap and video footage, including interviews and analysis from the game. Also, make sure to follow me on Twitter at Michael5o'clock for more in-depth sports coverage, and subscribe to my podcast, Michael Scott's Final Take, on any major platform where podcasts are found. That's it for me today. Thanks for listening, everybody. You've been listening to Michael Scott's Final Take. We'll see you soon.